The air crackled, thick with anticipation, as a lone figure emerged from the smoke and blinding strobes. He moved with an otherworldly precision, each step a deliberate stroke in a living masterpiece. The gleaming glove caught the light, a single beacon in the vast darkness of the arena, and the audience roared, a wave of sound crashing against the stage. This was Michael Jackson, the king of pop, poised to command millions, yet standing utterly alone in his singular brilliance. On this night, like so many others, he was a deity of dance, a voice of angelic purity, a spectacle of unmatched showmanship. Every tilt of his fedora, every swivel of his hips, every breathless vocal flourish was met with a fervent, almost religious devotion. The world knew him as the undisputed monarch of music, a global phenomenon whose reach stretched from the smallest village to the largest metropolis. He was the child prodigy who grew into a man-child enigma, a figure adored and scrutinized, celebrated and condemned. His public perception was a kaleidoscope of dazzling talent, unparalleled success, and an increasing, often unsettling, eccentricity. He was the architect of soundscapes that defined generations, the choreographer of iconic movements that transcended cultural barriers. Yet, even as he stood bathed in the adoration of millions, a profound sense of isolation seemed to cling to him, a silent counterpoint to the thunderous applause. The cameras captured the dazzling smile, the effortless grace, the electrifying energy that seemed to emanate from his very being. But what did they miss? What mysteries lay hidden beneath the shimmering costumes, behind the carefully crafted persona? The initial public perception was one of an extraordinary artist, a musical genius who seemed to defy the laws of gravity and the conventions of his industry. His eventual obscurity, or rather the period of intense public scrutiny and personal challenges that preceded his final return to the stage, only deepened the enigma surrounding him. The core enigma of Michael Jackson was this: how could a man who brought so much joy and unity to the world through his art become so profoundly misunderstood, so tragically isolated in his own universe? The camera would have zoomed in, past the sequins and the sweat, to find a flicker in his eyes, a depth of emotion that hinted at both immense joy and an unspoken sorrow. It would have shown the precise tension in his muscles as he executed a flawless spin, a man in perfect control of his physical form, yet seemingly battling an internal world that was far less ordered. The roar of the crowd was his oxygen, his validation, but it was also a deafening sound that might have drowned out the quiet whispers of his own soul. He was a master of illusion, crafting a fantastical realm through his music videos and stage shows, inviting the world to escape with him. But did he ever truly escape himself? This biography promises a journey into that deeper, more complex narrative, to peel back the layers of fame and controversy, to understand the man behind the myth. It is a story of unparalleled talent and immense pressure, of fleeting happiness and profound tragedy, of a life lived under an unforgiving spotlight that both illuminated and distorted. As the iconic opening chords of Billie Jean filled the arena and Michael Jackson launched into his signature glide, the stage was set not just for another performance, but for an exploration of a life that was as dazzling, as complex, and ultimately as heartbreaking as any ever lived. Michael Joseph Jackson was born on August 29, 1958, in Gary, Indiana, a working-class industrial city nestled on the southern shore of Lake Michigan. His birth came into a large, sprawling family, the seventh of 10 children born to Catherine Esther Scrouse and Joseph Walter Jackson. His mother, Catherine, was a devout Jehovah's Witness, a gentle and nurturing presence who instilled in her children a strong sense of faith and moral values. She possessed a quiet strength and a deep love for music, often singing and playing the piano for her children. His father, Joseph, or Joe, as he was commonly known, was a steel mill worker, a formidable and complex figure who harbored unfulfilled musical ambitions. He played guitar with a local R&B group and had a keen, almost brutal eye for talent. Joe Jackson was the undisputed patriarch, ruling his household with an iron fist, convinced that music was the family's ticket out of poverty. The Jackson family home on 2300 Jackson Street was modest, cramped, and often filled with the sounds of sibling squabbles and endless rehearsals. Michael grew up in an environment where discipline was paramount and performance was a daily expectation. His older brothers, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon, along with sisters Rebby and LaToya, formed the nucleus of what would become a musical phenomenon. Early challenges were inherent in their socio-economic environment. Gary was a city of blue-collar struggle where opportunities were scarce, and racial discrimination was an ever-present reality. The dream of escaping this harsh reality fueled Joe's relentless drive to turn his children into stars. From a very young age, Michael exhibited unique traits. He was introverted, sensitive, and deeply attached to his mother. Yet, when music played, a transformation occurred. He possessed an innate, almost supernatural rhythm and a voice that belied his tender years, capable of astounding range and emotional depth. His early talents were undeniable. He would imitate his idol, James Brown, with startling accuracy, mimicking every dance move, every vocal nuance. Joe Jackson, recognizing Michael's extraordinary gifts, soon centered the family group around his youngest son. Michael was nicknamed MJ by his siblings, though to the public, he would become simply Michael. His initial exposure to and entry into the field of music was not a gentle introduction, but a forceful immersion, orchestrated by his father. Joe began forming a family band, initially with his older sons, around 1962. Michael, barely 5 years old, quickly emerged as the lead singer, his powerful voice and captivating stage presence stealing the show. Joe's management style was notoriously harsh, marked by strict rehearsals, physical punishments, and verbal abuse. He believed in tough love, convinced that only through relentless discipline could his children achieve greatness. Michael later recalled the fear he felt of his father, stating, "He was a genius in his way, but he was also a very frightening man." This early trauma would profoundly shape Michael's later personality and his relationships. The state of the industry in the early to mid-1960s was ripe for a new sound. Motown Records was rising, pushing a sophisticated, soulful sound into the mainstream, crossing racial barriers. The Jackson 5, as they would soon be known, were perfect for this evolving landscape. Their early motivations were simple: to escape poverty, to make their father proud, and to pursue the only life they had ever known. Initial hurdles included honing their live performances, developing their unique sound, and attracting the attention of major record labels. They started playing local clubs and talent shows, honing their stagecraft, their synchronized dance moves, and Michael's burgeoning star power always at the forefront. Joe's persistence, coupled with the undeniable talent of his sons, particularly Michael, eventually caught the attention of Bobby Taylor of the Vancouvers, who helped them secure an audition with Motown Records. This was not merely an entry into a profession, it was the beginning of a relentless public life that would forever define Michael Jackson, a life built on a foundation of extraordinary talent and profound childhood trauma. The journey to fame for Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 was a meteoric ascent, but it was fraught with challenges that tested their resilience and ultimately shaped Michael into the complex artist he would become. After signing with Motown Records in 1968, the family relocated to Los Angeles, a dizzying transition from the gritty streets of Gary. While the financial struggles of their childhood began to recede, new obstacles emerged. Motown, under the shrewd guidance of Berry Gordy, was a hit factory, but it also tightly controlled its artists, dictating their image, their songs, and even their personal lives. The Jackson 5 were meticulously groomed, their sound polished, and their performances choreographed with precision. Discrimination, though subtle in the polished world of Motown, was still a backdrop. As a black group, they had to navigate an industry that, while increasingly open, still harbored biases. Their relentless efforts were undeniable. They spent grueling hours in the studio, perfecting harmonies and vocal arrangements, and even more hours rehearsing their intricate dance routines. Michael, in particular, was driven by an almost obsessive perfectionism, a trait that would define his entire career. He often felt the weight of expectation, not just from Joe, but from Berry Gordy, who recognized his unparalleled talent and pushed him to excel. Their breakthrough moment arrived swiftly. I Want You Back, released in late 1969, exploded onto the music scene, reaching #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in January 1970. This was followed by a string of 4 consecutive #1 hits, including ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There, a feat unheard of for a new group. The Jackson 5 were an instant phenomenon, propelled by Michael's electrifying stage presence and his astonishing vocal abilities. The public and critical reception was overwhelmingly enthusiastic. Critics hailed Michael as a prodigy, marveling at his charisma and his mature voice, often compared to legendary soul singers. Fans, both young and old, were captivated by their infectious energy and their undeniable talent. They became household names, symbols of youthful exuberance and undeniable musical prowess. Anecdotes from this period reveal Michael's budding genius and his developing work ethic. During recording sessions, even as a young boy, he would offer suggestions for arrangements or vocal nuances, demonstrating an intuitive understanding of music far beyond his years. He was known to spend hours practicing dance moves in front of a mirror, dissecting every step, driven by a relentless desire for perfection. Smokey Robinson once remarked, "Michael was just born a star. He knew it even then." Despite the fame, the discipline from Joe remained fierce. One story recounts Joe making Michael rehearse his dance moves for hours without a break, pushing him until he collapsed from exhaustion. These harsh methods, while instilling an unparalleled work ethic, also created deep emotional scars that would resurface later in Michael's life. The impact of their rising fame on their personal life and family was profound. The Jackson family moved from their modest Gary home to a sprawling mansion in Encino, California, a stark contrast to their previous living conditions. Their financial status shifted dramatically, from poverty to immense wealth, but with fame came the relentless glare of the spotlight. Every aspect of their lives became public property. Privacy vanished. Michael, particularly, felt the weight of being constantly observed, always on. His childhood effectively ended, replaced by a grueling schedule of recording, touring, and public appearances. The family dynamic, while still fiercely loyal, began to feel the strains of individual ambitions and the overwhelming demands of the music industry. Michael, once a shy, introverted boy, found himself thrust into a world where he was constantly performing, both on and off stage. This early, intense exposure to fame, while bringing unimaginable success, also set the stage for the profound isolation and personal struggles that would define much of his adult life, a dramatic turn from the innocence of childhood to the demanding reality of global stardom. Michael Jackson's journey through the complex landscape of romantic entanglements was often as public and scrutinized as his musical career, filled with moments of genuine affection, strategic alliances, and the relentless glare of tabloid speculation. His relationships, particularly in his adult life, often reflected his unique existence, a man of immense fame, seeking connection yet perpetually isolated by his own celebrity. One of his most significant and widely discussed relationships was with Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of Elvis Presley. Their romance blossomed in the early 1990s, culminating in a surprise marriage in May 1994, just weeks after Michael's first major child molestation allegations surfaced. The timing of their union fueled immediate speculation that it was a strategic move, a calculated attempt to repair Michael's public image amidst the swirling controversies. Lisa Marie, however, maintained that their love was genuine, born from a deep connection and mutual understanding of lives lived under extraordinary public scrutiny. "I truly loved him," she famously stated, "and I was married to him. I was married to him. I wasn't married to his money or his name." Their dynamic was intense, marked by periods of passionate connection and profound misunderstanding. They shared a bond forged by their unique upbringings as children of legendary figures, allowing them a rare glimpse into each other's isolated worlds. Their public displays of affection, like the infamous kiss at the 1994 MTV Video Music Awards, were often met with skepticism, seen by many as staged performances. The societal context of their union was one of heightened media frenzy surrounding Michael, where every move was dissected and often sensationalized. Their relationship offered immense tabloid fodder, constantly splashed across headlines. It was a whirlwind of private moments and public spectacles, their love story unfolding under an unforgiving spotlight. The emotional toll on both was significant. Lisa Marie often spoke of her attempts to save Michael, to ground him, to help him navigate his increasingly isolated world. Their marriage, however, was brief, ending in divorce in 1996. The heartbreak for both was real, a failed attempt to find normalcy and genuine connection in an abnormal world. Following his divorce from Lisa Marie, Michael entered into another surprising marriage in November 1996, this time with Debbie Rowe, a nurse who had worked for his dermatologist. This relationship was even more unconventional than his previous one, seen by many as a pragmatic arrangement. Debbie Rowe gave birth to two of his children, Prince Michael Joseph Jackson Jr., often called Prince, and Paris Michael Catherine Jackson. Debbie consistently maintained that their bond was based on friendship and a shared desire for Michael to experience fatherhood. "I did it for him," she once stated. Their marriage was less about romantic passion and more about companionship and the creation of a family. They divorced in 1999, with Debbie granting Michael full custody of their children, a testament to her belief in his capacity as a father. This arrangement, while unusual, seemed to provide Michael with a unique form of stability and the deep personal joy of parenthood. Beyond these two marriages, Michael's romantic life remained largely private and often subject to intense speculation. There were rumors and fleeting liaisons, but few ever reached the public eye with the same prominence. He often expressed a deep longing for genuine connection, for a love that was not influenced by his fame. He cultivated friendships, particularly with children, which often led to public controversy and further isolation. These relationships, both romantic and platonic, consistently highlighted the profound challenge he faced in forging authentic bonds in a world that saw him primarily as an icon rather than a human being. His romantic entanglements, whether born of passion or pragmatism, underscore the complex reality of a life lived without the luxury of privacy, where even the most intimate moments became fodder for public consumption and judgment. The zenith of Michael Jackson's career was a supernova that exploded across the global cultural landscape, fundamentally altering the music industry and cementing his status as the undisputed king of pop. This period, primarily spanning the 1980s and early 1990s, saw him achieve unprecedented levels of artistry, innovation, and public adoration. His most iconic role was undeniably as a solo artist, a singular force who commanded the world's attention with his voice, his dance, and his visionary storytelling through music videos. His groundbreaking achievement began with the release of Off the Wall, 1979, a pivotal album that showcased his maturity as a solo artist and set the stage for his global dominance. It blended disco, funk, and pop with a sophisticated urban sensibility. But it was Thriller, 1982, that cemented his legendary status. This album was not merely a collection of songs. It was a cultural phenomenon that shattered sales records, selling over 70 million copies worldwide and becoming the best-selling album of all time. Every track seemed to be a hit, each accompanied by groundbreaking music videos that revolutionized the medium. Moments of profound public adoration were almost countless. The Thriller short film, a cinematic masterpiece directed by John Landis, transformed music videos into a legitimate art form, blurring the lines between film and music. The sheer artistry and theatricality of it captivated audiences worldwide. His performance at the Motown 25. Yesterday, Today, Forever television special in 1983 was another watershed moment. When he performed Billie Jean and debuted the moonwalk, the world collectively gasped. It was a moment of pure magic, a dance move that seemed to defy gravity, instantly becoming his signature and a global sensation. This singular performance, broadcast to millions, solidified his unparalleled mastery as a showman. The public persona Michael projected during this period was one of an otherworldly talent, a playful yet mysterious figure who existed in a realm of pure imagination. He embraced eccentricity, cultivating an image that was simultaneously dazzling and somewhat enigmatic. The sequined glove, the military jackets, the fedora, the white socks and black loafers, these became his iconic visual language. He was the Peter Pan of pop, an eternal child who had found his ultimate playground in music. Yet, contrasting this fantastical persona were glimpses of a deeply shy, sensitive individual who found his truest expression in performance. On stage, he was pure electricity. Off stage, he was often quiet, soft-spoken, and almost painfully reserved. Vivid scenes of Michael at work during his peak would show him in the recording studio, obsessively perfecting every vocal take, his voice moving from a delicate whisper to a powerful roar, driven by an almost superhuman pursuit of perfection. Quincy Jones, his producer on Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad, often spoke of Michael's meticulous attention to detail and his profound musical instincts. He was a sponge, Jones remarked. He absorbed everything. On set for his music videos like Beat It with its gangland dance-off or the elaborate fantasy of Smooth Criminal, Michael was not just a performer, but a co-creator, meticulously involved in every aspect of the choreography, costuming, and narrative. He would spend hours with his choreographers, translating his vision into breathtaking physical expression. Interacting with fans, though often through the filter of security, he projected warmth and genuine appreciation, though the sheer scale of his fame often made truly intimate connections impossible. He treated his audiences like family, giving them everything he had in every single performance. His cultural impact during his peak was unprecedented. Michael Jackson didn't just sell records, he changed the way music was made, marketed, and consumed. He broke racial barriers on MTV, forcing the network to play videos by Black artists, thereby opening doors for countless musicians of color. He influenced fashion, dance, and humanitarianism, using his platform to promote messages of peace, unity, and environmental awareness. He represented the ultimate fusion of music, visual art, and social commentary. He was a global phenomenon, a unifying force who transcended language and culture, truly becoming the king of pop. Every detail, every note, every movement during this dazzling period served to illustrate his peak, a time when Michael Jackson was not just a superstar, but a planetary phenomenon, a force of nature who shaped the very fabric of popular culture. Beneath the dazzling veneer of global superstardom, Michael Jackson's private life was a labyrinth of profound inner conflicts, vulnerabilities, and personal struggles that were meticulously guarded from the public eye. Despite commanding the adoration of billions, he often grappled with a deep-seated loneliness, a profound sense of isolation that intensified as his fame grew. His childhood, stolen by relentless touring and the harsh discipline of his father, left him with a yearning for a lost innocence, creating an emotional landscape that was both childlike and deeply scarred. This unfulfilled childhood manifested in his creation of Neverland Ranch, a sprawling fantasy world that served as both a sanctuary and, for some, a troubling symbol of his desire to remain a child. His identity crisis was complex and multifaceted. The shy, sensitive boy from Gary struggled to reconcile with the larger-than-life persona of the king of pop. He sought constant reinvention, both artistically and physically. The highly publicized changes to his appearance, particularly his skin tone, which he attributed to vitiligo, and numerous plastic surgeries, sparked endless speculation and fueled rumors. But for Michael, they were often deeply personal transformations, an attempt to reshape himself, to control an image that felt increasingly beyond his grasp. He wrestled with questions of who he truly was, beyond the music and the fame, often feeling disconnected from the man the world saw. He once confided to a friend, "Sometimes I wish I could just disappear and be a normal person for a day." His personal struggles also included a reliance on prescription medication. The physical demands of his performances, combined with the emotional toll of constant scrutiny and past injuries, like the severe burns sustained during a Pepsi commercial shoot in 1984, led to a dependence on pain relievers. This dependence, largely hidden from the public, became a significant inner battle, contributing to his increasing reclusiveness and eccentric behavior. He sought solace in a carefully curated inner circle, but even within this circle, there was a profound sense of responsibility to protect his image, making genuine vulnerability a rare commodity. Family issues, particularly the strained relationship with his father, Joe, continued to cast a long shadow. Despite his immense success, Michael never fully reconciled with the emotional abuse he experienced as a child. He spoke openly about his fear of Joe and the psychological scars left by his upbringing, yet he also acknowledged his father's role in honing his talent. This complex dynamic, a mix of resentment and grudging respect, was a constant source of inner turmoil. His relationship with his mother, Catherine, remained a consistent source of comfort, a gentle anchor in his turbulent world. He found solace in a few close private relationships, though even these were often subjected to scrutiny. Elizabeth Taylor and Macaulay Culkin were notable friends, offering a degree of understanding and acceptance that he rarely found elsewhere. These friendships, often unconventional, provided a respite from the pressures of his public life, a space where he could be vulnerable and childlike without judgment. He also found deep personal fulfillment in his role as a father to Prince, Paris, and Blanket, cherishing the quiet moments with his children, away from the glare of the world. These moments were a source of immense joy and grounding, a return to a simpler, more innocent form of love. The immense pressures of fame and his profession contributed significantly to these internal battles. The constant demand for perfection, the relentless media intrusion, and the shifting tides of public opinion created a suffocating environment. He was a prisoner of his own success, unable to live a normal life, forever separated from the world he so desperately yearned to connect with. These hidden aspects of his life, the deep-seated emotional pain, the profound loneliness, and the quiet battles with addiction, paint a far more tragic and human picture than the glittering persona of the King of Pop suggested. They reveal a man constantly searching for peace, for acceptance, and for a way to reconcile the extraordinary artist with the fragile, wounded soul within. The final decades of Michael Jackson's life were marked by a precipitous decline, a slow unraveling of his once invincible empire, shadowed by relentless legal battles, mounting financial woes, and a deepening personal isolation. His career, while never truly dormant, struggled to recapture the universal dominance of his peak years. Albums like Dangerous, 1991, and History, Past, Present, and Future, Book 1, 1995, sold millions, but they struggled to ignite the same cultural fire as Thriller or Bad. This decline was not solely artistic. It was inextricably linked to the relentless storm of controversy that engulfed him. The first significant child molestation allegations emerged in 1993, sending shockwaves through his career and personal life. Though no charges were filed and a civil settlement was reached, the stain of these accusations never truly left him. The media, once his biggest ally in promoting his artistry, became his harshest critic, dissecting every aspect of his life with a predatory zeal. This period marked a dramatic shift in public perception, from adored icon to controversial figure. His health, both physical and mental, began to show the strain. He became increasingly reliant on prescription medications to manage chronic pain, exacerbated by an old injury from a Pepsi commercial shoot, and the rigorous demands of his dance. This dependency quietly escalated, becoming a critical, often hidden struggle. The pivotal moment of his decline, however, was the 2005 child molestation trial. Accused of multiple counts of child sexual abuse, Michael endured months of intense public scrutiny, a media circus that dissected every detail of his life, from his unusual friendships to his eccentric lifestyle at Neverland. He was ultimately acquitted on all counts, a legal victory, yet the trial left him deeply scarred, financially devastated, and emotionally exhausted. The psychological toll was immense. He retreated further into isolation, moving away from Neverland, which had become a symbol of both his dreams and his nightmares. The public's trust, once absolute, was fractured, and his once unquestionable status as the king of pop was deeply shaken. Career setbacks followed. Tour plans were often canceled or postponed, record sales lagged, and his financial situation spiraled, leading to a precarious debt. He became increasingly reclusive, his public appearances rare and often unsettling. The emotional and physical deterioration became more apparent to those closest to him. His family and close confidants witnessed his increasing frailty, his dependency on medication, and his struggle to regain his footing in a world that seemed to have turned against him. They worried for his health, both physical and psychological, seeing the toll the decades of fame, pressure, and scandal had taken. The events leading to his final crisis began in late 2008 and early 2009. Driven by immense financial pressure and a desperate desire to reclaim his legacy, Michael announced a series of 50 comeback concerts in London titled "This Is It." The announcement sparked a frenzy of excitement, but behind the scenes, the pressure was immense. He was rehearsing relentlessly, pushing his body to its limits, but his health was failing. He was heavily reliant on propofol, a powerful surgical anesthetic administered by his personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, to combat insomnia. This was his most closely guarded secret, a dangerous dependency that no one truly understood the extent of. His final moments unfolded in the quiet luxury of his rented mansion in Holmby Hills, Los Angeles. On June 25, 2009, after a night of intense rehearsals, Michael was unable to sleep. Dr. Murray administered various sedatives, culminating in an intravenous drip of propofol. At approximately 11:00 a.m., Murray left the room briefly. When he returned, Michael Jackson was no longer breathing. Frantic attempts at resuscitation began, first by Murray, then by paramedics who arrived at the scene. He was rushed to Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center, the sirens piercing the morning air, a desperate race against time. Despite all efforts, Michael Jackson was pronounced dead at 12:26 p.m. There were no reported last words, only a silent, sudden cessation of life, a quiet end to a life that had been anything but quiet. The king of pop, whose every movement had been watched by the world, passed away in a quiet hospital room, bringing a tragic, shocking, and utterly devastating climax to one of the most extraordinary and ultimately heartbreaking stories in modern history. The immediate reactions to Michael Jackson's death on June 25, 2009, were nothing short of cataclysmic. News of his passing spread like wildfire, igniting a global outpouring of grief, shock, and disbelief that transcended borders, cultures, and generations. Websites crashed, phone lines jammed, and television networks interrupted programming to announce the unthinkable. For hours, then days, the world collectively mourned, a palpable sense of loss settling over communities everywhere. Fans gathered spontaneously in public squares, creating makeshift memorials, playing his music, and performing his iconic dance moves in tearful tributes. It was a level of public mourning rarely seen, reserved only for figures of immense cultural and historical significance. His funeral service and memorial were extraordinary events, mirroring the unprecedented scale of his life and career. A private family funeral was held on July 7, 2009, at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California, a solemn ceremony attended by his closest family and friends. This was followed by a public memorial service at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, which became a global spectacle. Millions worldwide watched live as a constellation of celebrities, politicians, and musical legends paid tribute. Speakers included Berry Gordy, Smokey Robinson, Mariah Carey, Usher, and Queen Latifah, each sharing poignant memories and tearful eulogies. Michael's daughter, Paris Jackson, then only 11 years old, delivered a raw, heartbreaking speech that resonated deeply with the public. "Ever since I was born, Daddy has been the best father you could ever imagine. And I just wanted to say I love him. So much." Her words, delivered with a child's raw honesty, brought home the profound personal loss behind the global icon. The atmosphere of public mourning was a complex blend of sadness, nostalgia, and a collective yearning for the magic he had brought to the world. Fans spoke of how his music had shaped their lives, how his performances had inspired them, and how his message of unity and love had resonated. The media coverage was relentless, a 24/7 cycle of retrospectives, documentaries, and debates about his life and legacy. While many focused on his unparalleled musical achievements and his humanitarian efforts, the controversies that had plagued his later years were also heavily revisited, reigniting painful discussions. This dual narrative, celebrating his genius while acknowledging his struggles, became central to the immediate post-mortem reflections. The grief of his family was intensely private, yet played out on a very public stage. His mother, Catherine, and his children, Prince, Paris, and Blanket, were at the center of this maelstrom of emotion, navigating their personal sorrow amidst global attention. His siblings, who had shared his extraordinary journey from childhood, grappled with the loss of their brother, their bandmate, and the complicated figure who had been the focal point of their family. The global public, in turn, found solace and connection in their shared grief, drawing strength from the collective outpouring of emotion. In the aftermath of his death, Michael Jackson was no longer just a superstar. He became a powerful symbol of artistic transcendence, profound tragedy, and the enduring, complex relationship between a celebrity and the world that adores and often misunderstands them. Michael Jackson's long-term legacy is not merely one of pop music dominance. It is a profound, multifaceted force that continues to reshape the industry, influence global consciousness, and spark fervent debate. He was more than a singer or dancer. He was a cultural architect, an innovator who blurred the lines between music, video, fashion, and social commentary. His artistic innovations, particularly in the realm of the music video, transformed MTV into a global phenomenon and elevated the medium to an art form. He proved that music could be visually cinematic, telling complex stories and creating immersive worlds. His dance moves, the moonwalk, the anti-gravity lean, the robot, became global vocabulary, imitated by millions and influencing generations of performers across every genre. He redefined live performance, transforming concerts into theatrical spectacles of unparalleled scale and precision. His influence on public consciousness is immense and undeniable. He was a pioneer who broke racial barriers, particularly on MTV, paving the way for countless Black artists to achieve mainstream success. His rise to global superstardom transcended race, class, and nationality, creating a rare unifying cultural force. He contributed to cultural narratives of universal love, peace, and environmentalism through songs like Heal the World and Earth Song, inspiring a humanitarian spirit in his vast audience. He remains one of the most recognizable figures on the planet, a testament to his pervasive and enduring impact. Lingering mysteries and unanswered questions continue to surround Michael Jackson, fueling much of the public fascination. His drastic physical transformations, his unusual friendships, and his secluded lifestyle at Neverland Ranch remain subjects of intense discussion and speculation. The child molestation allegations, despite his acquittal in 2005, continue to cast a shadow for some, while others vehemently defend his innocence, pointing to media bias and malicious intent. The circumstances surrounding his death, ruled a homicide due to acute propofol intoxication, led to the conviction of his doctor, Conrad Murray, adding another layer of tragedy and unanswered questions about his final days. These elements contribute to the prevailing myth of Michael Jackson as a misunderstood genius, a tragic figure caught between immense talent and profound personal demons. Common misconceptions include the idea that his entire life was a descent into eccentricity, overlooking his immense artistic contributions and philanthropic efforts. His struggles with addiction and his physical changes are often sensationalized, overshadowing the complex human being behind the headlines. His legacy, however, has endured beyond these controversies. Why does his story continue to resonate? Because it speaks to the universal themes of childhood trauma, the burden of immense talent, the crushing weight of fame, and the human yearning for love and acceptance. He was a symbol of both the dazzling possibilities and the devastating pitfalls of celebrity. Profound lessons can be drawn from his experiences for contemporary audiences: the importance of protecting childhood innocence, the dangers of unchecked fame, and the complex relationship between art and the artist. He teaches us about the power of music to unite, to heal, and to inspire, but also about the profound loneliness that can accompany global adoration. His story reminds us to look beyond the spectacle and to seek the humanity in even the most extraordinary figures. Michael Jackson's legacy is not just in the records he sold, but in the way he moved the world, physically, emotionally, and culturally, an influence that continues to ripple across time, reminding us of the undeniable complex power of the King of Pop. The dazzling lights dim, and the last echoes of the roaring crowd fade into a profound, almost sacred silence. Michael Joseph Jackson, the boy who soared from the gritty streets of Gary to touch the stars, now rests, yet his spirit, his artistry, his enigmatic presence continues to dance across the global stage. He was a meteor, blazing across the firmament, leaving an indelible trail of light and shadow, forever changing the landscape of music and the very fabric of popular culture. His life was a symphony of breathtaking highs and haunting lows, a testament to unparalleled genius intertwined with profound human vulnerability. He chased dreams of innocence lost, built kingdoms of fantasy, and yearned for a connection that fame, in its cruel irony, often denied him. He spoke of love, unity, and healing, yet battled his own inner turmoil in the relentless glare of an unforgiving world. As the final curtain falls, we are left not with simple answers, but with profound questions. How does a child of such immense talent navigate a life where boundaries blur and privacy vanishes? What is the true cost of embodying a dream for millions? Michael Jackson's story provides no easy conclusions, only a rich, complex tapestry of triumphs, heartbreaks, and enduring mysteries. His music, however, remains timeless, a testament to the universal language of rhythm and soul, a powerful echo of the boy who could sing like an angel and dance with the gods. He transcended mere entertainment to become a global phenomenon, a symbol of both the extraordinary and the tragically human. And so, the King of Pop, though gone, continues to reign, his legacy a permanent fixture in the collective memory, forever moonwalking across the stage of our imaginations.